Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Brissett, Associate Director in UMC. Very, very happy to have everybody here today. This is the 8th annual Redbird Proud Social Media Awards and Workshop. It's the first time we've been in person in 3 years, and we're very happy to see you all and kind of be back in person. We'll also be live streaming for the second year in a row, so we're really happy about that. And we'll have, if you have to leave early or something like that and you want to come back and see a workshop, we'll have that available on our website. So thanks everyone for being here. Just want to introduce my colleagues, Tyler Emkin, Senior Social Media Coordinator, and Julie Manai Perez, Social Media Coordinator in UMC. Without them, this event would not have happened. So really happy to have them here today. And first, I just want to kind of tell us about our lineup this year. So we have some great speakers. The keynote speaker will be David Kirk with Redbird Esports, the program director. He's going to talk about lessons from esports, keys to building and engaging online social media community. After that, we'll have Lair. He's a graphic designer at University Marketing Communications, and he'll be discussing designing images with intentionality. And then we'll have Julie. We'll come on up and talk about Instagram, the best Instagram practices to improve your reels and stories. And then finally, we have 3 social media interns, and they're going to do a panel. Tyler's going to lead that panel. We have Grace Pellock from Admissions, Tamana Tasman from University Housing, and Eliana Kirkov from UMC. So we're really excited to have those speakers today. Before I get into the awards, I just want to make a couple of announcements. If you are on TikTok and you are not following us, please do, at Illinois State U. The crew over there is having a lot of fun. It's a collaborative effort, so it's a little different than most of our flagship channels where maybe we're leading it. We have interns and staff from our office, UMC, admissions, alumni engagement, and then we have a ton of partnerships across campus. So it's been a different kind of project and a lot of fun. Also, please go to our website. We have updated our social media guidelines. We have new sections on TikTok and Reels. We also have a section on how to handle comments and whether you can delete them or hide them or whatever. And so that's available on our website. And finally, we're really excited about 2 initiatives that Tyler's going to be leading this kind of going into the fall. We're going to turn our YouTube channel into an actual social media channel. I know that's crazy. We're going to try to provide a lot more content just targeted to YouTube. We're going to have a Day in the Life series. And Tyler's working closely. We have Micah Sewell as our UMC video intern. He's going to be doing a lot of content for that. Tyler's also been working with units across campus on their social media advertising. And we look to expand those services. So if anybody's interested in doing paid media on social, you can contact us for that as well. So with no more delay, I'd like to go into the awards. Are we ready, Tyler? Yep. Cool. We're going to start with Best New and Most Improved category. And we had 3 winners, 2 honorable mentions and an overall winner. First honorable mention, gymnastics, the team of gymnastics. They were honored for their Instagram. In their nomination, the coaching staff, they said the coaching staff manages this account and has gone all in on Instagram and taken feedback from athletic staff to invest their time and energy in Reels. This calendar year, their account has grown immensely thanks to a handful of Reels that have topped more than 1 million views. All of the content is shot on an iPhone. Just shows you what you can do with, just limited resources. And their following is now larger than the athletics flagship Instagram account, thanks in part to these viral videos. So let's give it up to gymnastics. Our other honorable mention is the Graduate School. The Graduate School has become more active on social media this academic year. They have stayed engaged with their audience and continue to share events, articles, and other information that is relevant to their followers. The Graduate School has increased followers, likes on all platforms, and their content has grown and adapted to their changing audience. They have to hit a lot of different audiences, college grads, working professionals, people with children, international students, and they've tried to make their content so it hits at least a couple of these audiences each time. Aubrey Henson over there, who started in October 2021, has been a big help in that area, and she has helped had like a 700% increase in page reach on Facebook and a 21% increase in reach on Instagram. So big hand of the Graduate School. And our winner for new and improved is the Multicultural Center. Their big focus was on Instagram. They've done a lot on there. The Multicultural Center uses Instagram the best and has improved it with more use of video and takeovers on story. The channel has grown to more than 1,600 followers and showcases faculty and students and promotes a variety of events around campus. After their facility officially opened last fall, they started showcasing staff and video biographies, and most videos having views from about 150 to 600. The center also uses a lot of well-designed graphics to promote events. Let's give it up to the Multicultural Center. Let's move on to the most innovative category. This year's winner is the School of Theater and Dance. School of Theater and Dance has done a lot of video on Instagram and on TikTok, has absolutely transformed their social media presence on Instagram, whether it be behind the scenes with the cast and crew of the latest production, where are they now with alumni who are excelling in the field, faculty spotlights, or celebrating student achievement. There's always something new and exciting to read and see on their Instagram. They've also established and grown their TikTok presence this year. The content ranges from showcasing student production designs to behind-the-scenes clips from rehearsals to how to sign up for classes and getting to know their faculty. The School of Theater and Dance includes a lot of student takeovers. The content feels very fresh and really connects to what their students and audience want to see. Their videos collectively over Reels and TikTok have garnered over 55,000 views. These efforts have boosted their student recruitment and fundraising efforts. So congratulations to the School of Theater and Dance. Are they here? Any representative? Come on up and get your one. All right, we had a very competitive Outstanding Students Social Media Manager category. We had tons of worthy candidates, and we picked two winners. The first one we'll announce is Noah Schlosser from Mennonite College of Nursing. Noah manages Mennonite College of Nursing's social media platforms. He is in charge of content creation from end to end, from brainstorming to content planning to image procurement and caption writing. He keeps the MCN team ahead of schedule by planning out a calendar of posts. He creates themed content such as Motivational Mondays, Throwback Thursdays, and more, alongside other posts related to MCN news. Probably most impressive, Noah has expanded their social media content by creating an original podcast, MCN On Air. This series highlights student and faculty voices telling their stories and offering a way for audience to get to know MCN in a whole new way. Noah has handled everything for MCN On Air, including the planning, outreach, recording, and production. Noah truly has gone above and beyond for MCN, wowing the staff over there with his talent and initiative. Congratulations, Noah. Come on up. And our other winner of this category is Jitsari Abanse. Jitsari oversees the day-to-day management of admissions social media. She produces creative content, offers great customer service. She is self-sufficient and consistently comes up with dynamic ways to feature admissions events, points of pride about the university, and process-oriented topics. She has helped the office keep up with social media without skipping a beat, even with turnover in the office. She was charged with showcasing more day-in-the-life content, and she has done so expertly. She has done so by better incorporating features of different majors, RSOs, and individual students into admissions content without it needing to be a campaign. The nominators cited her creativity, organization, collaborative spirit, and great work ethic for why she is deserving of this award. She is the type of student who you can hand over the reins to your accounts after little onboarding. Wow, that is great. Let's give her a hand. And our final award for best overall use of social media goes to the School of Communications. The School of Communication has put together a consistent, engaging plan that highlights students, alumni, faculty, advisors, and interns. There are multiple campaigns such as hashtag Meet a Student Monday, Feature Friday, Intern Spotlight, Major Spotlights, Throwback Thursdays that all have similar visual branding but distinct enough features to keep followers interested in learning more about the school and why they are hashtag best in the Midwest. One big accomplishment this year was the school's efforts on Giving Day. They came in first place with 328 individual gifts and raised more than $210,000 in a single day. That's an increase of more than 100 individual gifts and more than $100,000 from 2021. They credit the social media efforts and their external engagement on the day of the campaign for this success. Prior to this spring semester, the School of Comm hadn't been very active on social media, on Instagram and on LinkedIn. This spring, they've seen steady growth, building a solid presence across all platforms. That work contributed to the success of Birds Give Back. They pushed content every 15 to 30 minutes. That's over 50 posts per platform that featured everything from points of pride, faculty and student achievements, and on-the-spot video interviews with students. Not only did this plan result in financial success, but it's boosted their followers significantly. And they use these same efforts to recruit students as well. And these efforts they're hoping to keep growing. So I heard before they're talking about doing a TikTok next year. So let's bring the School of Comm up. Congratulations. Once again, a big round of applause for the winners. Well, first up is going to be David Kirk with Redbird Esports. He's going to do a presentation. At the end of each of our presentations, we've left about 5 or 10 minutes for a Q&A. So if you have any questions, please do it then. We also, if you're on YouTube, if you want to put questions in the comments, that's fine. We'll get to those either today or tomorrow. Thanks a lot, and here's David.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here today, and thank you all for being here and choosing to listen to me instead of being outside in the beautiful weather. Hopefully you got to experience a little bit of it on your way over here. I got to experience it firsthand as I was changing a tire in my car this morning that decided to pop on my way to work. So like any normal human being in today's day and age, and fitting since we're at the social media awards, instead of calling a tow truck or fixing my tire first thing, I instead decided to take a picture and post it on my Twitter. So if you want to see what I went through this morning, feel free to follow me on Twitter, which I'll share here shortly. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the esports program director for Redbird Esports here at Illinois State. I rejoined, let's move this. Oops. I'm new to Canva. I promise I'm not new to presenting. I rejoined Illinois State in January of 2020 in this role after serving a few years at the University of Akron, where we had the chance to grow a pretty successful esports program. I was a graduate of the Recreation Administration program here in kinesiology and rec, so I am a Redbird alumni myself. If you want to follow me on Twitter, just like everyone in social media, I'm always going to try to put my handle out there. You'll see that ISU Captain Kirk, repping the birds. And then the gentleman that you see to the right of the screen is actually the first ever graduate assistant for esports here at Illinois State, and one of the few in the country. Jack Blahnik was the president of the Redbird Esports RSO prior to us having an official program, and really was a catalyst to not only getting the program here, but working with some of the folks in the room to create the branding that you see and you will see throughout this presentation. Jack, unfortunately, can't be here today because we're helping some other entities around campus put on some events for some incoming students, but I can tell you that he wishes he was here to be able to speak and see all of you as well. So I figure the best thing, or the best place to start, is to make sure that we're all on board and on the same page as to what Redbird Esports is. So I'm going to give a general overview, and then afterwards we're going to talk a little bit about our social media strategy that we've had within our program, and how that's led to the success that we've seen, not only from an impression perspective. We should close in on about 5 million impressions this semester alone just from our Twitter account, but also talk about how we've been able to expand ISU's name to an international stage, being one of only 4 collegiate programs in the country that are verified on Twitter, as well as only a handful of Illinois State University accounts that have that Twitter badge checkmark. The first thing that you need to know about our program is we are unique. Unlike what you'll see if you Google collegiate esports and you just see other teams competing against one another like traditional athletics, ISU versus Bradley, ISU versus U of I. Instead, we have developed a more comprehensive approach, which allows opportunities for any student, regardless of skill level, to be able to game or connect with the community that we have on campus. The strategy and some of the tools that we've used to connect these students, I'm actually going to talk about here in the presentation so that you can see how effective they can be in bringing students together and expanding your own messaging and making sure that folks are seeing the messages that you want them to see. The first piece of our program is what we define as competitive, and it's one of 4 pillars that we have. So our competitive side of our program is exactly what you think of when you think of traditional athletics. It's the best that our school has to offer, competing against the best that other schools in the country have to offer. Currently, there are over 450 programs around the United States that offer scholarships or some form of elevated support for gamers on campus. We are one of those, and we are one of the top programs competitively in the game titles that we compete in, which are League of Legends, Overwatch, and Rocket League, for any gamers who are in the room. Anyone else who don't know what those are, it's okay. I didn't know what some of them were even before getting to ISU. Our clubs are really the largest part of our program, and this is what really sets us apart from other universities. We've got about 1,000-ish students participating at the club level, and that is either on a team competitively or just connecting, doing campus community events with other students. We really heavily lean on our clubs, not only to help drive the program forward, but for a lot of the things that we do that me as the one full-time staff member can't, and that's social media, broadcast, production, some events that we do. Our students are the lifeblood of what our program is, and a big reason as to why we've had the success that we've had, not just from a social media perspective, but from an entire program university perspective. Casual is something that we can also define as community. This is those gamers who don't have any interest in being competitive. They may just want to come in and play a game of checkers, or they want to come in and sit down at a computer and get lost in a fantasy world. Unfortunately, we've not really been able to actualize that part of the program, but as many of you may know, we have a new facility coming on board this fall that some folks in here are helping design the branding for as well. That's really going to allow us to expand our offerings and connect with a new type of student. Currently, the facility that we have right now, the Vault, is located in the Student Fitness Center, and we really have to keep that facility offline 90% of the time so that our varsity teams or our competitive teams can have space to practice and compete for us. We've got a lot of need and a lot of want from students to come in and just sit down and play games, whether it be because they don't have the equipment themselves or access to the games because of price barriers. So that's something that we're excited for fall of 2022. We'd be happy to have anyone in the room who's interested in checking the space out, come and check it out. It will be a nationally leading facility. And then our final pillar is career. So that's where our social media team comes into play. We also have students who help support the operations of our Discord, which is an online community. It's kind of where we've been housed for the past 3 years outside of the Vault that's allowed us to engage and connect with students in a virtual space. It was particularly useful during COVID when nobody could be in the same room. We were able to do a lot of the things and a lot of the programming connection points through Discord, and we think that that's a big reason as to why we've seen the success in our other social media growth that we'll talk about a little bit later. So our goal for our program coming in January of 2020, you'll see our beginning numbers here shortly and our numbers where we're at now, but we did not have a large social media following, and most of the university in general, students, faculty, staff alike, didn't know that we existed even though we officially launched an esports program. So we came in understanding that we wanted to provide value to the institution, and we wanted to provide value to the community that we were going to be engaging. So our first goal was developing a brand that could get Illinois State that national recognition. I think it's probably no secret to anyone in this room. It's very difficult to get Illinois State's name outside of the Midwest or the 200-mile radius. So in order to do that, we knew that we had to compete at a high level for our varsity program, but we also recognized that as one of the few state public institutions in the entire country that were supporting esports at an official level, that we had a platform people were going to want to follow, and they were going to want to see updates so that they could replicate this at their own universities. I will say we've been successful, and I'll talk a little bit about some of that success in terms of getting Illinois State's name to the national audience, but also the international audience. We wanted a brand that could be leveraged to help support other units on campus and other accounts and channels on campus. So while we'd love to be the #1 Twitter profile at Illinois State University, we also recognize that we want to ensure that we're all in this together and we're helping amplify others' voices. So for all of those in the room that follow us, we know that we follow you back, and we'll often engage with your content, and we'll bring the audience that we've cultivated to your content as well. I know that the admissions folks do a really great job of engaging with us, as well as the traditional university account. And there's always a lot of crossover that we find because the users that we have, sure, most of them are our club leaders, but they're Illinois State students. There are often times we'll retweet accounts that have 150 followers, and their message really isn't getting out, and once we retweet it, you see 20, 30 likes come in. So again, our whole purpose is to make sure that students at ISU who we've been able to garner their attention know everything else that's going on, because we feel it's mutually beneficial to be able to ensure that the entire campus is being recognized. And then obviously our last goal, as we all know in higher education, money is kind of a thing that you need to continue to do great things. And we're definitely in that same boat with Redbird Esports. So we wanted a brand that could be monetized, a brand that there was value, that you would want to be connected with it because of the audience that we hold, the attention that we hold. And being able to bring in additional revenue allows us as a program to continue to do additional things for not only our campus community, but the community of Bloomington Normal as well, in terms of bringing folks in, helping to support high school and middle school initiatives that are often underfunded and don't have the proper resources in order to provide their students or their kids opportunities to grow in gaming. So our strategy, and this is really getting into the nuts and bolts and what's worked for us in order to kind of garner that niche audience that we have for gamers, not only on campus, but around the world, is we knew that we needed to start small, and we wanted to put most of our focus into one place. Redbird Esports had several social media channels when I came in. We had a Facebook, I believe we had an Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all of these things that I knew I was not going to have the bandwidth as the solo person in the program to be able to support fully. And the last thing that I or Jack or the program wanted to do was put half of the effort into something and then potentially lose engagement or lose folks' attention because we weren't giving them what they wanted. I'm always a big fan, and I'll say this later, of your social media needing to provide value to folks. So that's something that we intentionally think about with every post that we have, or any time that we're trying to build our brand into a different place. We decided, knowing that collegiate esports and esports and gaming in general, the highest user population is on Twitter, we decided that's the best place for us to start. So we really put all of our eggs in the basket of starting in Twitter when we actually started looking at social media. And we'll actually talk here in a second. We didn't go all in on Twitter for about the first 6 months of the program because we were actually focused more on developing the campus community through our Discord community. We knew once our audience got large enough in that one community, we could start cross-promoting and we could start sending folks from that channel into the next. And we knew that the response rate normally is around 10% for anything that you do, whether it be surveying or trying to bring other users to a different platform, so long as the barriers are low enough. And then we knew that we had to consistently post, we had to consistently engage, interact, spotlight, tag folks, do whatever we needed to create that engagement, which, as you all know, as social media managers yourself, that can be taxing and very time-consuming, in addition to trying to connect with the online community through our chat platform, Discord. So our game plan, and yes, that pun is intended, was to start on Discord in terms of developing our campus community. So Discord, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is very similar to Microsoft Teams or Slack or any other productivity/chat platform that exists, because I know that there are a handful of them. Discord, however, is the place where most gamers come together because they have very unique ability to be able to create custom roles, channels, and then there is voice and video sharing in there as well. How Discord became the place that gamers congregate, I have no idea, but I knew that that's where they were, so that's what we launched with. The first 6 months of the program, like I had mentioned, I had came here and there were roughly 150 or so people in our Discord community for Redbird Esports. It was just open for anyone. We have no idea if those were students. We had no ideas if those were alumni or prospective students. So one of the first things we did was we blew our Discord up. We kicked everybody out, and we implemented some pretty rigorous verification processes. What that did is it allowed us to know who was in our community. And as you all know, open forums, open communities, Facebook pages can be rife with context that you normally don't want to see or have parents see. So we took very intentional steps to ensure that our community were being moderated properly and that they understood how they were supposed to act in this online. We'll talk a little bit later, that helped to make sure that we took away their ability to be quote unquote keyboard warriors, which is what we say in the esport gaming world. So after about 6 months of building out our Discord community, once we officially launched, we had about 1,000 verified students and a few prospective students, and then some alumni in that space. So that was kind of our number to hit until we started really putting time, effort, and energy into Twitter. We were also waiting to make sure that our branding was appropriate and we had all the guidelines and our social media strategy was set up for Twitter. But the second that we launched Twitter, we started pushing all of our audience that we already had, their engagement, their metrics, their attention in our Discord to our Twitter platform for things that they could normally easily get in a channel post that we had. And we saw some pretty substantial success rates with that. And then our third foray was into getting our Twitch, which Twitch is a live gaming broadcast platform. We branded it with our Redbird Esports branding. Evan helped us that at UMC. And we really didn't start with the intention of broadcasting every game. What we started with was wanting to be able to showcase at least what our varsity teams or the teams that we bring in on scholarship were doing so that the campus community could watch if they wanted to, recognizing that that's a big niche that the younger generation particularly enjoys. I myself don't get this whole idea of watching people play video games. I'd rather just play them myself, but it is a multi-billion-dollar industry somehow, and you get people, hundreds of thousands of people watching it yearly, millions of people watching it yearly. So I'm going to share some numbers from where we started and where we're at now. So in January of 2020, our Discord community, we had about 72 total members. Again, we had 120 some odd members that we had to kick out because they were inactive or a bunch of other things that they weren't following the proper guidelines, we'll say. We had about 378 Twitter followers, which is a relatively decent size, but again, esports and gaming lives on Twitter, so it's small comparative to the rest of the community. And then on Twitch, we were very happily entertaining 21 people, and I will tell you, we probably had 1 or 2 people watching regularly. So over the course of the last few years, as you can see in the numbers below, we've grown pretty substantially. I'm hoping that it's because of some of the strategies that we've put in place and some of the things that I'll talk about here, so that hopefully you all might be able to take some of these and be able to turn it and make it work for what you're doing with your own social media accounts and programming. But we're currently at about 1,900 Discord members. We've also implemented a new step in the verification process where any student who comes into our Discord community, they actually have to register through Student Life as well in their platform, where events, et cetera, you all know what that is. We've been very successful in having about 1,000 students after we've implemented this change last semester get registered through that, and we're currently the largest Redbird Life student organization with Redbird Esports because of that. We do post events there as well. I know that our audience isn't checking that as regularly as they should be, but we're hoping with some of the changes that are coming with that, we'll be able to start pushing more and more folks there as well. Our Twitter followers has grown to 2,500, which again may not seem substantial when you look at Instagram numbers or TikTok numbers, but for a collegiate esports program, we are one of the largest, and like I said, we are one of only 4 verified collegiate esport accounts on Twitter, and we are the newest. All the other collegiate esport programs were verified prior to their new checkmark requirements. We just got this verification at the beginning of the fall semester last year. And then our Twitch account has grown pretty substantially. So we've got about 1,600 total folks who follow our Twitch. I will say we get anywhere from 5 to 10% of that on consistent viewership. But what all of this does, as you all know, is that increases our impressions, right? So I don't have impression metrics off the top of my head for everything outside of Twitter, but like I mentioned earlier, we're closing in on just this semester about 5 million Twitter impressions, which again, for a collegiate esports program to be able to get the university's name out is pretty substantial. So Discord, so you all get a little bit of an overview of what Discord is. So on the left-hand side there, you see that we have several different channels. These are more channels than most folks would see in the Discord. I have elevated privileges, so I can see every channel. But within each one of these channels, there are different categories, different chat and voice options, so that we could really tailor it to connect to a specific community. So something that you don't see in here any longer are game-specific channels. And the reason for that is because we outgrew the capacities that Discord allowed us. So rather than congregating every single game title into our Discord community now, we've actually been forced to switch it up and create individual Discords for individual game titles. There is a feature in Discord now that shows you campus communities, and our Redbird Esports Discord is the largest Discord at Illinois State University, and the next 10 largest Discords are all part of our clubs, who all have 100 plus different members within them. There can be some crossover, but the one unique thing about our main Discord server is you have to be a member in order to join any of the other Discords. So that keeps that accountability, that verification piece there. If you are unverified in our Discord server, you lose access to all the other ones. It's an automatic process that we've got set up through a custom bot. We primarily utilize our Discord server today as an announcements hub. Again, we've not really been able to actualize things like intramurals in gaming or one-off specific events for the campus community just because we don't have the space, but that is what we plan to do in the future because we know that our students are already here. So of the 1,900 students or 1,900 people that are in this Discord, about 1,400 of them are students. Again, only about 1,000 have been verified because we implemented that process a little too late. But then we have alumni, and one of the really, really neat things about this community is our ability to capture prospective students. So we've got about 300 prospective students in here who are going through our channels called Introduce Yourself. It's been really popular for us. They don't know anybody else who's coming to Illinois State or they want to meet other gamers. They'll introduce themselves there and then we'll be able to connect them with whatever community they're interested in. So if they're interested in Dungeons and Dragons or anime or board games or Call of Duty or League of Legends, we can make sure that they get into the right place and other students are seeing them. So Discord's been an incredible tool for us to develop that campus social connection prior to students even getting on campus. So they've already got friends and they're more likely to get more engaged once they've got folks to do things with on campus. We're also utilizing this as a hub to push out competitive results and try to survey our Discord audience as well to figure out what we can do better. On the right-hand side, you'll see that there are a whole bunch of different roles and colors going on. One of the really unique things about Discord is you can create custom roles and you can move its priority on that list up or down. So on the very bottom there, you'll see ambassadors. That's a unique role that we put on there for Redbird Giving Day, because these students, and there are several others, there aren't just 3, but those are the only ones online. These students really led the initiative of taking responsibility to capture their audiences, to bring in their own donations so that it's not just the program pushing something out as well. It's beneficial, or it's valuable for them to be on that sidebar so high up, because now they're seen, out of the 1,900 people in that Discord, they're seen at the top, right? And they get this cool pink color that often in Discord communities has some relevance of being better than others. So there are really unique ways that you can do with no money, right, for cheap or for free, to create value, and that was one thing that we were able to do. So our Twitter, which I think is the thing that we've kind of transitioned and put most of our time into now, once we were at a point where we had those 1,000 Discord users, rather than posting competitive match results or upcoming match announcements in our Discord community where they could see, interact with, we instead would put a link that was not embedded to our Twitter, so that they would have to go to Twitter to see who we were playing, who we were going to be practicing against that day, what tournament that we were playing in. So it inevitably created the want for them to want to follow on the Twitter. Sure, our conversion rate wasn't strong at first, but after we started making it apparent that we weren't going to announce anything on Discord any longer, we started seeing more and more folks flow into the Twitter as their main source of information for everything Redbird Esports. And again, right now for our campus community, we're leveraging Discord, but for that outside community, for our shareholders within the university ecosystem and even outside, our Twitter is really where we get the word of what's going on out. Major announcements are one thing, but what we found to be successful in growing our own Twitter brand was, just like I said earlier, liking, retweeting, tagging others in every post. What that does is they'll share that with their audience as well. And depending on who it is, the followers that they have, you could potentially gain another 1 or 2. We have several players in the right-hand corner there. For those of you who weren't aware, we had the #1 Overwatch team, and not just collegiate, but all of North America last fall, until unfortunately 4 of them were drafted to go professional. We still have a top collegiate team this spring, and we are competing in the national championship on May 1st. However, each one of these individuals had 10,000+ followers themselves. So anytime that we would tag them, they would retweet, we would just get an explosion of impressions, of likes, of follows. So leveraging your audience, and we're lucky we were able to entice high-level players to come in, and I know not everyone has that same privilege, but finding those who will interact regularly with your platform, even if they're influencers or semi-micro influencers themselves, we found that to be really successful. Other programs that are verified, we prioritize interacting and retweeting and commenting on their accounts first, and all of those interactions increased our overall impressions and our overall follows over the course of the first year that we were really building up our Twitter before that we were verified. And then Twitch. So again, Twitch is kind of our live broadcast. It's our ESPN. We've done a lot on Twitch over the last year. Again, we kind of took an entire year and a half, to primarily focus on our Discord and our Twitter. But once we felt that we had solid branding going on there, we really dove into creating more value to our users or our students via Twitch. So this last year, we've upped our broadcasts by about 100 comparative to the year before. Our views are exceeding 100,000+, and then our overall watch hours are in the hundreds of thousands as well. Again, I don't have updated numbers for those, but those will come at the end of the semester, and I fully anticipate total, we'll be closing in on 1 million total impressions just for Twitch alone, which is pretty substantial. For those of you who don't know, the Twitch platform, it's very difficult to get discovered on. It's very much like YouTube, where you can have a viral video, but with Twitch, you're normally further down on some of these playlists. So unless you have some sort of unique content or you're getting amplified by a different influencer, it's very difficult to get folks to follow you. So that's how we know that it's our campus community who are regularly tuning in, because they're engaging, they're getting incentive points. There's this really cool feature that Twitch has that the more you watch, the more points you get, and you can do fake betting. These points have no monetary value, let me be very clear, but the kids don't care about that. They just want to bet who's going to win and lose and get 1 billion points so that they can tell their friends they have 1 billion Twitch points. But those incentives, and there are other things like drops where we can partner with game publishers, and there's a particular skin in Fortnite that if you watch so many hours on our Twitch, you'll get access to it for free. We've been able to leverage things like that to continue to grow, and anyone else who's interested in using some of these, I'm not sure what YouTube has, if there's an equivalency, but things like that are what kids, at least in our genre, in our niche, in our audience, care about and like. The other thing that we're starting to expand into are non-gaming specific content. So Twitch is not just a watch game platform. There are other live things that happen. There are DJs that go on there and do live music performances. It's really expanded from 2-3 years ago. One thing that we're really looking to get into is podcasting. The Bird Herd is something that we've done, but we want to stream those on YouTube and on Twitch. And we want to do a weekly Dungeons and Dragons show as well, because our Dungeons and Dragons RSO on campus is fantastic, and I've sat in on some of their storylines, and it's pretty incredible stuff. And with the success of things like Critical Role, wins-based platform or program that runs on Twitch, we think that the campus community here, and even those not on ISU's campus, would really enjoy that. Our plans for the future, so you saw in the social media awards, everyone is using Instagram. We are starting to see and getting requests from our audience to start expanding into Instagram. So again, we feel very comfortable right now with our verified Twitter account. Our Twitch account is actually verified as well, which is no small task. And then with our Discord community being as large as it is, to start putting more time, effort, and energy into building out our Instagram. We've also relied pretty heavily on students, but we've grown our student team, and we have some very incredible folks who I guarantee you'll see getting some awards next year, who are going to be leading some of those initiatives for us. You don't see TikTok on here. And I understand that TikTok is huge right now, even within the gamer audience, but we do have something up our sleeve for TikTok, as we are lucky enough to have one of our Redbird gaming leaders who's a TikTok influencer with hundreds of thousands of TikTok followers. So more to come on that soon, and we'll definitely be sharing that with you all as we follow the Illinois State account once we get our TikTok account up and running. The other thing that we're doing to help just overall expand the brand and the messaging, and honestly give us more opportunities to be able to connect with sponsors, is our individual clubs. Rather than trying to push everything out on our flagship Redbird Esports account, we're helping them build their own individual social media identities, particularly on Twitter. So what we're doing is we're leveraging their engagement and the audiences that they're capturing, and we're making it a rule. It's not a rule yet, but every different social media account, and we have 22 different RSOs now who fall under our jurisdiction, to like, retweet, expand messaging for all of ours. So it continues to grow not only our follower counts, their follower accounts, but it also helps to increase those impressions and the awareness overall. Any other university entity that is here that has a social media account, and you'll see this in the next slide, if you're not following us on Redbird Esports, please do, and please interact with us, because our hope is to be able to utilize those club accounts as well as our account to continue to expand your messaging as well. And then spring in 2023, we recognize that pretty much zero gamers are on Facebook at this day and age, and the younger generation in general don't utilize it as much as we did way back when. However, we do recognize that our gamers' parents, their families, their friends, and a lot of other general audience members from the Bloomington Normal area are there. And one of the things that we're planning to do is develop more educational content to inform people about what esports is and what we're doing in the program, because we know that the folks who are going to see that on that platform are the folks who don't already know what we're doing. Whereas Twitter, we don't have to do that because, again, we engage a student gaming audience. rather than having to worry about people understanding what League of Legends is. That's something that's in the works. Again, I'm a one-man show as of now, but we did just have the opportunity to hire Jack Blahnik on as our second full-time staff member. So that's going to really allow us to expand and develop some more content and hopefully help expand what you all are doing as well through the success that our platforms have. Some other things that we've done or implemented that's, I think, helped building our success is using current trends. I mean, this is social media 101, right? When something really popular is going on, jump on the bandwagon and make sure that you're tweeting it out or you're doing it as well. I will say I was actively against this because I didn't want to be like everyone else, but that definitely hurt us in terms of followers and impressions because once one of my students baited me into doing it, we just saw those numbers increase and we saw that most of our most engaged content pieces are these current trends or these meme pictures. Using multimedia, so rather than just sending out a tweet, which is what we did at the very start, we've learned we should probably put a picture with it because we're visual human beings and not necessarily everyone just wants to read. If they wanted to read, they wouldn't be on Twitter. Being active has been a big piece in helping us. And again, as the primary person who handles our social media, as well as Jack and a few other students, most of our varsity content has to come out of me because I'm in the room when it's happening, and our students are more concerned with clubs. But it is kind of a three-person show at this point. In between all of us, we're able to get at least 1 or 2 posts out a day, which is, again, increased our overall level of interaction. And then interacting with everyone. So oftentimes when we beat a team for our varsity teams, we will get tagged or somebody will say good game. And even if they've got 10 followers, we make it a point to make sure that we're responding to every single person, we're liking them. And then we often see a turnover of them following the account back, even though they're not an ISU person. So we've seen that. I know it's often impossible, and if you have a video go viral, you're obviously not going to be able to talk to every single person that comments, but as a rule of thumb, we try to interact with everyone. And then we try to push as many people to whatever account we're trying to grow. So using our Discord community, and then once we built our Twitch or our Twitter community up, we used both of them to push people to Twitch to get us to 1,600 users there. And we're going to do the exact same thing with Instagram and TikTok once we start to launch those. With all that, I think I bored you enough. If you have any questions about our program, about our social media strategy, I'm happy to answer those. But the one thing I will say again is please, 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 if you have an Illinois State social media account, we only follow other Illinois State University accounts or folks who are prominent members in the Illinois State University community. Because we want to create that sense of validity for them and for folks that we follow. So please interact with us. I promise you we interact with everyone, and we will help amplify and expand your messaging to get it to the audience that we currently hold. And that's it. Were there any questions before I? Yeah.
Are we collecting any, like, I know that as Twitch streamers get big and as YouTube streamers or live streamers in general get big, that they start getting ad revenue? Are we doing that or have plans to or not going to?
So we have not monetized our Twitch account, even though we're eligible for it yet, because we're figuring out the intricacies of that. We have several students, however, that are a part of our program who do have monetized accounts, but that's not something that we govern. It's obviously their own personal brands, and they're not leveraging the university brand to make money at that point. They were already making money before they were part of Redbird Esports, so they're going to continue to do so. But I will make sure that I provide an update once that does happen. Our hope is to be able this fall, when we open our new facility, to launch with a monetized Twitch account. Good question. All right.
Quick question. You said you had to do a lot of moderating on Discord. How have you been handling that? That seems like a lot to deal with. It's like managing a Facebook group or something.
So we actually leveraged a few students who had some exceptional skill in coding and JavaScript and Discord bot development, and we developed a custom bot, a custom coded bot that we could essentially filter out words and it would delete immediately. One of the other things that was really impactful was we required every student that came in to verify through their email address, but also they had to use their real name. So if you remember seeing, let me go back. So if you see on the side over here, we've got Pat React McGrath. React is his gamer name. And what we found is having your actual name associated with your online identity creates a little bit more desire to not want to say bad things or do bad things. I will say that's a similar experience I had at Akron as well. But you also see some of these folks that are in green called mods or moderators. We actually not employ, but it's volunteer. We have about 20 different students who are a part of our program who actively moderate the Discord as well. So they're all assigned specific channels. And so they get those notifications on their phone, on their computer, however they want. And if they see something bad or something's reported to them that's bad, they delete it. And then we have a disciplinary process that goes through the top. So all student work. That's why your students are your best tools. Yeah.
You mentioned you're a one-man shop for a lot of what goes on with esports. How much, what percentage of time do you think you're managing and doing social media work compared to everything else?
A lot less now than a year ago as we were building it. I would say on any given day, I am on our social media probably 10 to 15% of my day. Today, I'm on there probably more so 5%, but that's because we've built out an incredible team of students, and I've offloaded some of that work to Jack, our graduate assistant, as well. So I say maybe 50, it was probably closer to 25, 30% at the start. It was a declining train.
Really interested in the introduce yourself kind of initiative that you have going on in Discord. Where do you see that going, or do you have a plan to expand upon that for prospective students?
So we have a lot planned for prospective students in terms of holding particular online events or intramural competitions that we can do all digitally to connect them with one another. But also getting them connected for recruitment for our clubs. So while I recruit for varsity teams, right, we provide scholarships for them. They're often the top players. We have about 20 other game titles that we don't support at that level that our clubs are looking to bring other students in, which again just brings more folks into the university. We essentially have 100 different students actively reaching out to friends, family members, other people they know in the gaming community to come to Illinois State to play on their teams. So that prospective student, that introduce yourself, that's kind of the breeding ground to help develop those initial connections and get folks connected on campus before they're here, because they can ask me questions directly. I mean, how cool is it? Think of traditional athletics. If you could talk to Nick Saban, right? If you're a football player when you're in middle school or high school, they get that direct connection component with us through Discord, as well as talking to our varsity players, our coaches. So that piece is a little bit, when we talk about the verification and the moderation, that piece is a little bit harder because they have no direct connection to the university at that point, and oftentimes there's some students who are potentially in middle school. Once we find those things out, we normally just push them towards our other social media channels until they're getting ready to make a decision to come to college. But there are ways for them to be in the Discord without access to everything, to see announcements, to see other things that are going on in the university. We have something set up in there that anytime we retweet, this is why you should follow us and at us in any of the initiatives you're trying to push out. Anytime we retweet something on Twitter or we mention it, it goes to a specific channel that all those prospective students can see as well. So, whenever Pasta for Sage has a social media thing going on, we retweet that, and that always gets the most likes in our Discord server that they see. So we've actually had a lot of turnover, particularly in our social media department. we're lucky that we have some great folks in there now, but essentially the only recourse that I had at that point was for me to take it all over. Breaks, we don't really see that being an issue because we do schedule a lot of things out. You know, we do have a content calendar that's been developed very much like every other social media program. My days went from 5% to 30 to 40% whenever our students were in that transition because things came up, right? And you know, there's no incentive aside from building out their portfolio or getting the experience or their love for doing it that they have. We're looking to change that in the fall as well, and being able to hire students in actual paid positions to then build out their own individual teams in those volunteer roles, which should help with the turnover. But I will say, probably like many of you, I don't have an answer to that. I just work more when that happens. Yep, sorry. Esports is great, but not that great. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lawrence Lair. I use he, him, they, them pronouns. I work at University Marketing and Communications as a graphic designer, and I'm here to teach you about graphics and social media and how to design with intentionality. So a big question you should start with before you start opening accounts, before you start making your putting in your profile pictures is asking yourself, why are you on social media? What is your goal? What are you trying to get out of it? If your answer is, I just want more engagement, it's low-hanging fruit, it's free, I'll just do it, what do I have to lose? That's not a good answer. It's not good enough because your content is going to show that, right? I see so many Instagram accounts that just post some motivational hang in there cat memes, and I'm like, what are you offering me? What is your point? Who are you talking to? And it's so obvious to people who are in social media when an outsider is posting for the sake of posting. So you have to think to yourself, who are you trying to speak to? What do you want to do for them? And why do they care about you? Is your audience even on that platform? We go through platforms kind of generationally. There's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, just to name a few, and each of them have different, what I would call leans, right? In terms of generational leans, so the older, types are on Facebook, the younger ones are on TikTok. Where is your audience, right? Have you identified on which platform they're on? Like gamers, not on Facebook, they're on Discord. Who are you talking to? Alumni? Are they older? Probably they're on Facebook. Are you talking more of a professional career standpoint? They're probably on LinkedIn. Are you just here for entertainment and memes? You're probably on TikTok or YouTube. So you got to think about your leans, think about where your audience is at, and if it's worth the effort. And once you've identified those things, you need to be an expert of those about your audience on your brand, because it's, like I said, it's really obvious to identify an outsider. You should probably put someone in charge who uses social media. A lot of the times it's just well-meaning folks who just think, this is an easy enough thing to do. It doesn't cost me any money, I'll just do it. But you really need to step down and accept the words of an expert who's actually living and working in those communities, who can speak that community's meme culture language, and then select your platforms intentionally. They'll be able to help you establish your vibe, your plan of engagement, and how to schedule posts at intervals. You don't have to do it all at once, and a lot of these platforms have scheduling tools for you. And in the end, it's a lot about authenticity. You should know your playing field and try your best to engage in a targeted kind of visual communication. That's what social media is about, right? If you know what you're trying to say and you know who you're saying it to, it'll make yourself look a lot more competent and less like an outsider. Because once you lose your first impression, you're going to be categorized as other. You're some faceless company. You don't really care. You don't speak to anybody. You're just out here fishing or pandering. So now that you've got your intention down, let's talk about designing for first glance attention. So people spend an average of 3 to 5 seconds on any social media ad or any piece of social media content that isn't from their friends or people they know.
So first glance vision is about 1 to 3 seconds. Your brain doesn't even know what you're looking at right now. Your eyes are searching for things to grasp onto, searching for things that will help them make sense of the situation. So you have to think about, does your graphic say anything in those 1 to 3 seconds? Or is it chaotic? Does it lead you to the thing that you want to say? This is visual communications. A couple of tips are, as human beings, we like edges of things, we like contrast, and we like human faces. We are designed to identify other human beings and faces and quickly grasp, what are they looking at? What are they saying with their face? Are they happy? Are they angry? Are they speaking to somebody? And you should leverage those human tendencies to design for something that's human-centered, right? We have certain things we all share visually as humans. So those are just a couple of things. There's also things like movement and sound that are also really great at grabbing our attention. Let's do a little game. We're gonna find the green O. This is gonna be fast, so be ready, okay? Did you miss the extra green O on the third slide? Let's go back to that one. Did you see 2? Did you see 2 green zeros? So that demonstrates to you how quickly our 1 to 3 second visual interaction is, right? We would zoom straight over to something that identified itself with edges or identified itself with color contrast. But when you start layering a lot of distraction onto it, on top of it, when you start putting, O's that weren't green or green things that weren't O's, your brain starts to get distracted. We start scanning frantically and we can't find the information anymore. And another thing is, as you're layering those things on, you miss things too. A lot of the times when you're designing graphics with lots of important information, it's very easy to miss something, just like you missed the second green O, because you weren't looking for it. It gave you no indication that there would only be one thing to look for. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Just because you can, doesn't mean you should. Make every decision for that graphic intentional. If you only have 1 to 3 seconds to get anybody's attention, make sure that you make the most out of it. So is your copy carefully chosen? I see some people who have whole essays on their Instagram post. It's tiny, right? It's tiny. Most of these things are going to be viewed on mobile, and they're going to be looking at it for so little time. They're going to see a big block of text and immediately scroll past it. So make sure you choose your copy very, very carefully. And then anything else can go under the cut, right? A casual viewer can get maybe 2 or 3 sentences, and then somebody who's more interested will look under the cut. And then the most interested people will start interacting with it, liking it, maybe following a link or sharing it, tweeting it, whatever it is. And then think about if your graphics are helping or hurting, right? To convey an aesthetic is something, right? People who scroll on by and see that your brand has a sort of consistent aesthetic, that's not worth nothing. But make sure that it's helping. It's helping during first glance. It's guiding your viewers to the most important pieces of information. And then once they achieve conscious vision and you start getting more devoted people looking at your content, that they know the most important things are there and that your links aren't broken, you aren't making them, you're not putting additional friction in front of them in order to get to the next step of engagement, because that's huge. Once you have someone who's actually reading your content, you need to make sure it's the smoothest path possible to get them to do or to, give what it is you want to give them to them. And again, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Your time is an investment. Social media is not free. Your labor and your efforts is worth something. So you shouldn't just do it because you can. Make sure that you are valuing it and that you're putting value that will give you the most returns, or most likely give you the most returns. So let's go on to some platforms. There are multiple streams of scrollabilities. There's stories, reels, and then there are ad buys and targeting and tagging and tracking. So fortunately and unfortunately, AI knows exactly who you are, and they know exactly what you're likely to click, right? So you can leverage that it to your advantage and target really specific audiences, right? If you're offering something that you really only want to see alumni, or you really only want to see gamers, or you really only want to see people in the state of Illinois or something like that, you might throw a couple of bucks at these ads. They're really not much. You can start as low as, say, $5 for an ad to make sure that this isn't just getting thrown into the ethos and getting lost entirely, right? So it's a really good idea to think about how targetable is your audience. And also tag relevant people, right? For the example of esports, try and tag people at people who are going to help elevate you, even if they're micro accounts, even if they're not big yet and we're almost famous, like try tagging relevant people. It makes you look more alive, and it also puts you in the stream of other people's streams. Think about auto replies, think about interactions, your inboxes. Make sure that you are speaking to those interested individuals. If somebody's gone through the effort to send you a message or to comment, these are your whale audiences. That's like a product sales term. These are your most interested people who are going to do something about you or with you. So make sure you have timely responses. There's a lot of platforms that give you auto reply responses or allow you to bot certain questions and answers. And also, there are multiple feeds that share the same parameters. There's a typo there for the 1080-1920 videos work on TikTok, Instagram stories, and such. It's basically the difference between a screen that is vertical or a desktop that is horizontal. So a lot of these platforms share similar parameters. You'll see these numbers pop up a lot. So if you're already making content, might as well, put them onto different streams, because if you put them onto a Reels stream, you'll get one chance to get on somebody's scroll, right? And then you post it, you'll get another chance to get on somebody's scroll. These are streams that give you more chances to get in front of somebody. So please do utilize them and realize they exist. Another thing to keep in mind is we are increasingly in a mobile-first environment. So here are some statistics. Out of 4.48 billion social media users, 99% access their websites or apps through a mobile device. 78% are accessing it solely, and then only 1.32% are only accessing it through desktop. Designing for a mobile-first environment means you have to understand that there are certain zones of safety and certain zones that are prone to getting cut out. So when you're designing your graphics, so these numbers change from time to time. This is not like a solid number at any given year. You might have to check online to see what the parameters are, but generally speaking, you can expect about 20% on the left and right to maybe getting trimmed out, depending on the resolution size and the screen type of your mobile phone. And then maybe a little bit off the top and bottom. So try and keep the most important things into the center. And we're going on to a little bit of multimedia here with motion graphics. Videos on Instagram generate more engagement than any other content type. Tweets with video see 10 times more engagement. Video content also seems to stick around longer. It seems to come back into your feed occasionally. On TikTok, for example, things will pop into your For You pages that were, weeks or maybe months ago published. And videos can be repurposed. Remember, there's that vertical orientation and then that wide orientation. And it appeals to a Gen Z audience. Gen Z has grown up with video technology. We didn't live in a time that there wasn't some kind of YouTube or GIF or moving imagery, so it just tends to kind of resonate. But in general, motion resonates a lot with us as human beings. And you also get the chance to have some organic marketing. So organic marketing is things you didn't really put in any effort into to allow itself to grow organically. People might share your content and then they'll share their content. Maybe they'll repost it enough times. So it's like this sort of web ripple effect. And it's just more likely with video content. And that is like the fast, blow by blow, we're starting out on graphics. You'll start to learn a lot more about your platform as you go on. You'll start to know that Twitter is typically a more kind of text, day-to-day, slice of life, sort of banter back and forth and tagging with individuals. And you'll start to realize that Instagram is more kind of aesthetically pleasing things. There's also like a meme culture on there too. And TikTok is more lighthearted, it's more funny, it's more kind of topical and a lot less discourse. You'll start to feel out these social media platforms, but it's best if you've lived them, if you've already interacted with them, and you know that this is the vibe of a lot of these platforms. But that was just like a quick blow by blow of what you can sort of leverage as a human being with just intuitive human being tendencies about how we like to visually process things. Any questions? No, is that good? Oh.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Manai Perez. I am a social media coordinator over at University Marketing and Communications. So before I start my presentation, I would like for all of you to kind of think about some of your favorite Instagram channels and what makes it so special, what makes it stand out for you, and how would you like some of those qualities to kind of reflect on your channels. So today I'm going to be presenting some of the best Instagram practices to improve your reels and stories. And before we go over that, obviously we're going to be talking about some reels and stories and driving traffic on those Instagram stories, some of the tools that you can use and some that I think I find very effective. Interactivity in those Instagram stories matter. And some of the best practices to be successful within stories and reels, user-generated content, and just some advice on trends. And so Reels, just an overview. It's a lot like TikTok, and if you're not on TikTok, Reels is more of a vertical video format that's about 60 seconds long, and I wish it was longer. And on the middle side of the Reels, you'll see that editing tab, and that's probably one of my favorite social media in-app editing tools. I prefer that over TikTok any day. And I think Reels has been very good about being more accessible, so you see that they have included closed captions, which I love. So we've been utilizing that a ton. And then you'll see some Instagram stories, and these are probably some of my favorite that I've produced in the fall semester. And I've kind of utilized Instagram in a way where I get to use guides and use the in-app layouts and everything like that, and even using some of the Instagram story sliders to make it more interactive and engaging with the students. And so one of the important things you want to think about when you're creating Instagram Reels or even Instagram stories is thinking about driving that traffic onto your page or onto whatever content you're producing. And so I really do think functionality is game changer. And so I just want you to know that there is more than one way to keep your audience engaged. But some of the things that I found successful, at least in my role starting in the fall, was that, a lot of when I'm creating my Instagram stories, I think being able to tap on, like I use that link sticker, and I think that's very effective. A lot of you get to see a lot of the insights that from your end, who's clicked on it, who's exited it, who's moved on, and everything like that. And also creating multiple slides. I like to be able to tell stories when I'm creating Instagram stories, but not being able to give everything away, just enough to get people to read the news.illinoisstate.edu site. And one of the things that we've been really taking advantage of was the highlight tab over here. And we've created a few of them just to kind of highlight some of the big things that are happening around the university or some of the main things we want our new visitors to check out. So when you have new audiences that come to your channel, one of the first things that they're going to look at is what's the university been up to or what have they been posting about. And one of the strategies that I like to keep in mind is just making sure those highlights are regularly updated. And it's also visible and easier for visitors to navigate your page. And then last thing, I won't recommend, I won't talk about it much, but Lawrence was able to touch on it a little bit, Instagram ads. And we do have, Tyler's been able to handle a little more advertising on our end. But I do recommend discovering a little more about Instagram ads and some of its capabilities. And if you have that important message or an event, I would recommend using that to reach a higher audience or even getting a certain demographic that you want to reach. And so some of the designs and tools that I like to use, I've been a pure Adobe kind of gal. I have always refused to use Canva for some reason. And starting this job, I realized that I don't really have time to go on Adobe anymore. So I like using pre-designed layouts. They make everything a lot easier for me because everything's already placed. You just have to figure out the video, the text, and the images. And some of my favorite apps, and though these are paid subscription apps, I think these are worth the time to look into or investing in. Canva Pro has been our go-to for our whole social media team, and I designed this entire presentation on Canva Pro. And then Mojo as well, that's only for mobile, but that's probably one of my favorite editing tools that there is. And both of those, they're able to edit video and then also touch on motion graphic as well, which is something that I really like compared to other Instagram story apps. I've tried a ton of them. And then for layout, I like to use an app called Series or the Instagram in-app editing features. And then Lightroom to edit your basic photos for vibrance and exposure. And then for my newbies and for those quick edits, Premiere Rush and Splice are some of our favorites. And so when we're thinking about creating Instagram stories, I do think interactivity is so important and important to utilize. I think Instagram has done a really good job of like putting those things in of like either taking quizzes or polls, stickers, Q&As, countdowns, and even branded Spark AR filters. And you'll see Lawrence over here, in that branded Spark AR filter. It took me some time to learn it, but I promise you it's one of my favorite projects that I've worked on, and it's really fun. I've got to see how many people have used the filter, and it works all around everywhere. So yeah, I love those features. But I think interactivity is so important because it keeps your audience engaged and it keeps them coming back for more, something to look forward to. We do like a New Music Monday once a month, and we usually do like the Q&A poll where we're like, drop your favorite song for fall or something like that. So those have been really effective for us, and it's really easy engagement for your audience. So we're going to go over some, and so everything is not represented for some of the best practices, but these are at least the 7 that I find very successful when I'm creating content. So I think creating like that social media experience is so special to your users, especially if it's towards a certain audience, which is students. And so how would I do that? I'm basically fusing content and experience together. And so I'm prioritizing the experience over a certain product. And that's being able, with your help, basically collaborating with campus partners for events, just to kind of reach other people towards their channels as well. I'm fortunate enough to work with a lot of interns and a lot of graduate assistants, and then other people in their departments as well, to kind of cross over some of their things that they're doing, and then incorporate it into the Illinois State brand. And it's been a great journey. We've been seeing a lot of good numbers and a lot of great interactions. A lot of people want to work with us a lot more. And then also that kind of ties in with user-generated content. I kind of like to encourage people to tag Illinois State U or use our hashtags to find better, effective ways to repurpose their content. And also, I think it's also good branded photography as well. It blends the Illinois State brand and also something that it also blends some of their photography that they've taken, something that they're proud of to tag us in. And then also, some social media users love authenticity. They love seeing each other on our social media pages, and they're very reflective of that. And so some of the easiest ways to find that creative content was hosting giveaways or even contests, tagging a friend in the comments for additional exposure. We found those very successful. And like I mentioned, collabing with other units. Instagram has done a really good job, like I said, and they have this new awesome feature where you get to collaborate on a post with someone. And we've done this with a few people already. And some of those posts have been really successful, where your posts and would kind of would cross over on their channels, and it's just double engagement, which is what I love. And then also understanding your audience. I do think student feedback is so important, and I'm so lucky to work with an amazing group of people and just partner with a bunch of students on campus. And I like to hear some of their feedback on some of the things that they like to hear, either if we're doing it through Instagram stories or even posts when I see that they like our content or they want us to keep doing something. And Instagram analytics as well. I think that's just really helpful to kind of dive into your Instagram analytics every now and then to kind of see who's liking your things, what post is popular, what post is not doing good, what post reached engagement, and what your audience likes overall. And then crowdsourcing too. I mentioned user-generated content. I love to make sure that I'm utilizing some of the students well towards at least Instagram, and then cross-promoting some of the things that they do. And then one of my personal favorite things I like to do, and that I've discovered has been quite successful, is creating that personalized interaction and eliciting emotion that will result in stronger and deeper relationships with users, and which is our students. And I do think, going back to, everyone likes to be able to experience that Illinois State life or that Redbird life. Experience marketing really does imply that user growth. We're going to get new followers, and also it turns our current followers into advocates, and it improves our brand loyalty as well. And so I like to basically build an experience around a message to kind of share out to our audience as well. And I think that really resonates with a lot of our content. And then also, I think Instagram has done pretty well with a lot of their updates, and some of their recent updates, they're pushing a lot of Instagram content. A lot of they're prioritizing Instagram Reels and carousel posts. So I do encourage you to create more video elements to your page if you have the resources to do that. And then carousel posts as well. A lot of students like to see multiple photos. And then using hashtags in your Reels too. I use a ton of hashtags, but not overkill. So, and I found those extremely effective as well. And then for trends, I went over a little bit of some strategies to kind of gauge your audience, but the one thing I can give you is prioritize your relevance over reach. And I found that a lot of the videos that we do and something that we put time into. Some of them don't really get the reach that we're hoping, but a lot of the fun content that we produce that resonates with students and students can relate to as like a student life, campus culture kind of thing, those have done really successful. And just remember that you don't have to do it all, but you also have to keep in mind, as to what Lauren said, you know, you need to ask yourself questions. Why should you follow this trend? And why is it relevant to your audience? And do you have the resources to adopt this trend? And what will you get out of it? Will you get more followers? Will you get, are you producing like awareness or etc.? So, questions? Yes, Brian.
Julie, when you identify a trend, most of the time you're seeing that trend on TikTok
Mm-hmm.
used by another user. Where do you draw the line and decide, you know, this is off brand or this is on brand, you know, as far as being involved with a trend? Like how do you process that?
Sure, that's a really good question, and that's something I still struggle with too, but I'm really grateful that I have Kevin and Tyler who tell me that that's a no, that's a hard no. No, I do think that, and I'm so grateful to have multiple eyes on this content. We have a really good system of people who look at our videos before it goes up, but how I filter it is you kind of just have to use your own judgment. If it's a trend that's really popular, you kind of have to think of how can I incorporate this in an Illinois state way without causing any like controversy, or can I get away with this? And you kind of just have to keep those in mind, that you don't want to offend anybody, or you don't want to use a trend just because it's trending. You have to make sure that there's a reason why you're using this trend, and also is it is it relatable to the students on our channel?
Yeah, the Barista Goose one is a good one.
Yeah, we published a Bruce the Goose TikTok, and it was very low hanging, and we didn't really mean anything out of it, but that was our most popular TikTok out of all the TikToks we've put a lot of heart into. But no, yeah, if you don't follow us on TikTok, you should. It's really fun content. We're working with a ton of people who help make that work, and I'm really proud of everything that we've done. Any more questions? Yeah.
At the beginning of your presentation, you talked about to like think about a social media account that stands out to us.
Yeah.
Which one stands out to you and how to use those?
Okay, sure. You know what? As an obvious thing, I mean, it's on TikTok, but I love Duolingo. I think, you know, they're able to like connect with their audience, like just like I like that they're able to connect with their audience and just use that trend to kind of like draw in like new people to use their app. But if it were towards Instagram, I really like the Taco Bell social media account. And no reason, I really love Taco Bell, and I love their branded account and everything. Everything is just so aesthetically pleasing, and I think they're using it in a very effective way. So that's probably one of my favorite accounts that I look at every day. Yeah. Yes, Noah.
Yeah, when it comes to trends, what's the sweet spot for the time? How long do you have before?
Sure. Yeah. So with TikTok, at least with TikTok, it's there's a really wide window, at least 2 to 3 weeks. So that gives you some time to brainstorm. But we found that a lot of like the Instagram reels, at least, a lot of those TikTok trends are onto Instagram, and they're on Instagram because of TikTok. And so if I'm making it relevant towards Instagram Reels specifically, I just look at the Reels tab pretty often. And I usually devote maybe like a good 40 minutes to look at like what's trending on Reels right now and how can I use that, and how does it relate to like my channel? What can I do? So did I answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we're good. Thank you.
All right, our final part is the intern panel. I think a couple of them are here, so come on up. I encourage you to have, eat some snacks or we have brownies, cookies, all this stuff over here. So please eat that. We've paid for it. So let's try to let's down a few of those things. Yep, yep. Let's go over there. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Wouldn't miss it. I said, wouldn't miss it.
You should be able to hear 5, but feel free to drag that around.
Okay. Okay, cool. I don't want it too. Yeah, I'm pretty loud anyway, which is what makes me nervous that I'm right in front of it.
You had a presentation before this, you said?
Yeah.
I feel you. This week has been.
Oh my gosh, I had 2 presentations today. I had work, and then I was like, I have this. So I have like all my bags with like all my different outfit changes for the day. It's crazy. Yeah.
Are you graduating?
I was about to ask.
I
Yeah, I am. You are too.
Yeah. So I have like
Awesome.
senior stuff tonight for my sorority and for WIB. So it's just like I have like 3 outfits in my bag too.
I have
so.
2 friends that are WIB. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What are their names?
Brooklyn Oswald.
Yeah.
And Ashley Goki.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So I knew they had you guys had your last meeting last night.
Yeah, we had our senior send off last night, and then we're doing like photos and stuff tomorrow, but we have to plan for it tonight. So it's just like
Yeah.
a process of everything,
Yeah.
as you know.
Oh yeah. It's like you're trying to cram everything into these like
I
last.
also enjoy it. So
Yeah. But it's also stressful, and then you're like, I don't
Are you
want to be
getting ready
stressed.
though?
Yeah. Do you have a job lined up or no?
I do.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm interning for another company over the summer. called
Okay.
CDW, so,
Okay, awesome.
I'm going back there. So.
Okay, cool. Is that in Chicago area?
Yeah,
Okay.
Chicagoland area.
Very
So.
cool.
How about you?
Having
In the process?
In the process, yeah. It's just so so hard. I got a job offer here actually. I don't really
Like to work for.
admission.
Okay.
But I don't. It would
Are
be.
you from up north?
I'm from South. I'm
Okay.
I'm Edwardsville, Illinois. So I'm
Oh, yeah,
30
I know
minutes
where
away.
that is.
Yeah, from St. Louis area. Like I just don't know if I want to stay here. You know, I'm like I'm ready to like leave. You know what I mean?
No, I completely understand.
So-
would you be doing social media work? Or
I would be doing social media. So basically, Elena, who's
Yeah.
actually over there, like I would be taking her whole position.
Gotcha.
So,
Oh, yeah,
but
she's.
yeah, she's not housing. EMDH events.
Okay.
What is it? What is it?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes. Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So we're just gonna get started here in a minute.
Yeah, they're just kind of like a little chit chat.
And this is the last part of the event too.
Yeah.
So. Did you work for them last year as well?
Okay. Yeah, because I like.
Did you present last year? I feel like I
I
remember.
did.
Okay.
I did. It was like me and Ellie, and because I was like, because we first started the TikTok account. Because basically, I like emailed Dylan, who's like the head guy at like admissions, and trying to get an internship, but it was like still like peak COVID-ish, and so he was like, well, we're not taking any interns because we feel like we won't give them experience, but
like, I'll
we
do
have
it.
this TikTok thing, and we're starting it, so you can be a part of that. So I was like,
that's
sure.
where you started on
So that's where I started, and then I transitioned into the. But so yeah, but me and Ellie were like the first ones on the account, so they were like, they wanted you
no
guys
clue
to
what to
talk
do.
about like the TikTok account, so we explained what TikTok was,
Yeah.
and like it was a small little presentation, but
I
remember
accepted-
being like, this is so silly.
But the thing is that some people don't know, so it's like it probably was helpful that you were able to do that.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
But I accepted the job, and then Kevin sent me that. He's like, you should like log on and kind of hear more about what's going on. So whenever I logged on, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't imagine having to present. And then
Yeah,
now we're here.
it was
so.
over Zoom.
All right, looks like everybody's here. I'll give you just a second here for everybody to kind of get nestled back in, and we'll get started.
I am too.
Cool. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Tyler Empkins, Senior Social Media Coordinator over at University of Marketing and Communications. I'm going to be moderating this panel. with three student workers on campus. They've come up over and over again throughout this panel. A lot of units heavily rely on them to make things happen. So we thought it'd be a good idea to just ask them some questions about their experiences, the things they work on, and maybe how when they graduate we can find talented students like them in the future. So to start, we'll just start with nearest to me. So Tammy, we'll just introduce yourselves. Hardest question of the day, which is your name and what you're studying and who you're working for.
Should I use the mic, or is my voice enough?
Is the mic?
Okay.
Yeah, bring it over to you a little bit.
All right. Hi everyone, my name is Tamanna Tasmin. I'm originally from Bangladesh, that's a country in South Asia. I am currently pursuing my master's in project management. I'm set to graduate in May, so only a few more weeks left. I am currently managing 2 social media accounts for the university. I take care of University Housing Services' social media, both their Facebook and Instagram, and I take care of Student Affairs social media, all 3 of their social media accounts. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace. I am a senior public relations major here, and I am the social media intern for Office of Admissions. So I help out with our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and I'm also a part of the UMC TikTok team as well.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. My name is Ellie Kirkove, and I'm also a senior this year, so I'll be graduating in a few weeks along with them. As an undergrad studying advanced marketing analytics, integrated marketing communications, and I work over at University Marketing and Communications as a social media intern and help out with all the platforms, and also does TikTok stuff with Grace. So happy to be here.
We'll just start with Ellie, just because you got the mic near you.
Yeah, of course.
For the next question, how did you find your opportunity initially?
Yeah, of course. So obviously, when you are a student, you're looking for an internship, usually your junior year. So I just went out on the ISU job board and just was starting to discover my options on there. And this opportunity popped up, and I wasn't exactly sure of all the great things that it was going to bring me, but I was able to find it there, and from there, hire on. And I actually went to this event virtually last year. I was just telling Grace about, so it's nice that we're able to have it in person. But when it comes to finding more students, I think that's the next part. Correct, yes. Finding more students, there's definitely a variety of ways you can do that. I'd say the top way is through LinkedIn, obviously. Many students utilize LinkedIn now as a platform for social media just because it really is pushed throughout classroom work and throughout extracurriculars too. So being able to post out to LinkedIn, I know we're hiring for my replacement, and we were able to get a lot of candidates through that way just because students are on LinkedIn, and hopefully if they're running social medias, they're using the platforms themselves. I'd say that's a major way. And then along with that too, reaching out to different professors and seeing if they have any outstanding students that are within that department. So like, for instance, if you're a marketing or communications major, reaching out to professors that way, seeing if they have any students that they could recommend and put a rec towards the position. So pass it down.
Same question? Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. So I found the position. I'm actually a admissions tour guide on campus. So I knew a few older communications majors that held the internship that I'm currently holding, so I thought it would be a good fit. So I reached out, and also through my internship coordinator through my major, he gave me a whole long list of internships on and off campus, admissions being one of them. So I reached out to that contact, and that's actually how I initially joined the TikTok team, because at the time it was, COVID time, so they weren't really hiring interns, and I kind of got my in through that way. So mostly just through my job, my peers in my major, and and my internship coordinator. And the best way, I think Ellie pretty much covered it in terms of finding interns or outstanding, students would be to, I know personally, would be to reach out to the departments. And I think if the advisors, especially because they will email students updates about, upcoming events and opportunities and things like that. And I know for me personally, I really
pay attention to that stuff. So I think that's a really big key to finding those people and reaching out to professors and things like that, because professors know what students are interested in, and I know there are quite a few students that are super passionate and have a drive, especially in the realm of social media.
Thank you. So I, like both of them, I found my job, my graduate assistantship through the ISU job portal. And of course, I have applied to a lot of other positions that seemed like same like matches my portfolio at the time. But this one matched like point by point, every point matched for this one. So that's how I landed my graduate assistantship. Now for my internship, so I have been in my graduate assistantship for 2 years. By the time you network, you know people, you know around the community, and people, if you're doing a good work, people know and people recognize you. So that's how sort of through my, both of them are exes right now, because like two of my bosses, Ed, who was the assistant director of marketing for housing, and Megan, who was the executive director for university student affairs. So they both connected, and that's how I got hired. They basically touch base on everything that I wanted to say, how you want to hire a student that would meet your purposes. I would say one thing though, while you're going through CVs, make sure that that person's interest and that person's experience matches with what you're actually looking for. And while you're talking to them, make sure that they are actually passionate about the job role that you are trying to hire for, because if they're just trying to get into to land a graduate assistantship or something, that would not last in the long run. And if they have passion, passion never fades away. So I would just say, I would just add that to whatever they have said.
Next question, and I don't feel like you have to do every single one of these, because I know, at least for Ellie specifically, I give you a lot of stuff to do. But what are some of the duties that you do as a student social media intern, and how has that changed over time?
Well, since I have the mic, I guess I'll get started. So for both of my roles, I manage a calendar where I put what kind of content I want to be out there, what kind of caption I want to be out there. I try to manage it around major university events, major national, international events that could be related to our students. For both of my positions, I do that. But there are certain things that go on Facebook that doesn't go on Instagram, and vice versa. And for student affairs, when I'm talking about Twitter, of course, we have to be mindful of our word count and character count and things like that. One thing that I would say have changed, and I think everyone in this room knows, that the pandemic changed everything. How we're talking to students, what points are we talking to. We have to be very careful about what sensitive information we're putting out there and how we're putting out there, because words matter. And we are all here, especially us, we're wordsmith here, we're trying to make sure that we are being sensitive around any particular and special topic. So I'd say pandemic has taught us a lot, it changed a lot. And when you're talking about social media, I think it changes every second. Like with the blink of an eye, another trend is up there. So you have to be constantly up there, knowing what you're doing and what comes next.
Yeah, so my duties include creating content for our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So either I get assigned things to cover, whether that be new news articles, and it's all a missions perspective. So we're really trying to focus on those points of pride and what prospective students and parents are wanting to know about the university. So either I get assigned things or I'll create, some ideas for content, and kind of across the board for our different social media platforms. We do have, a little bit different language. In terms of like Facebook, that's more geared towards parents, because they're going to be checking that a little bit more than the students, where the students are more on, Facebook. You said in terms of COVID, I think that definitely changed the game a lot in the social media game, especially like starting out my internship kind of in the peak of COVID. Showing student life was very different from now. So it definitely gives you appreciation in terms of, showcasing what it truly is like. So we did have to come up with, quite a few creative ways to showcase that in the best way possible of like how it would be like normally. But beyond that, also being, sensitive to topics and such, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and then going into some of the duties and tasks that I take care of, I'd say one of the biggest ones, like I said, I'm an analytics student, so each month I go through and pull our metrics for each platform that we have. So we use 5 platforms, and we put all that information in Excel, and then we put it over to a visual platform called Google Data Studio. I'm pretty sure it's free, right, Tyler?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so it's a free platform, and it integrates the data over for you. So you just put in what metrics you want to show, and then it also gives you like a nice graph visual as well, showing how you have progressed over the last few months. And I'd say this is a really great platform that we use, and see how we're overall doing, how we're performing for that month as well too. And going off of what they're saying as well, seeing how things have changed over time, us transitioning back to in-person events and us having more content to post, we've seen more engagement on our posts. So we've seen a positive slope up on everything, which is very exciting. So that's a big thing that I worked on this year as a student, but also with that too, just creating content and creating visuals on Canva and being able to go out into campus and get that content that we post as well as another big part of one of my tasks. So,
tell us about some of the favorite parts of what you do.
yeah, I'll get started on that. I'd say my favorite part of the role is just overall being able to be creative. I've held other internships in the past, and it seems very point blank of the things that I was supposed to get done every day and work towards every day. And with this role specifically, and just being in the social media space, it's very open for improvement. And as a marketing major, I was able to kind of hit all aspects of marketing when it comes to analytics and running digital advertisements and being able to create creative content as well. So I'd say that's one of my favorite parts, along with the collaboration that comes with it as well. There's a lot of familiar faces in here just because I've worked with a lot of you on projects or reached out to you beforehand. And with that too, we mentioned that we have multiple interns on our team. So just being able to work with multiple people and brainstorm ideas and watching those products and our overall projects come to life has probably been one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, you
Taking the words out of your mouth.
kind of taking the words out of my mouth. I really have enjoyed working with the admissions team. I've never been on a social media team before, so it is really cool and neat to see like the behind the scenes of, you just see a post like on Facebook, but you don't really think about, the conversation that we have like, oh, this would be so cool or this would be a good idea. So kind of bouncing ideas off of each other and, collaborating, which is what you mentioned. So definitely working on that team has been one of my favorite parts, but also just being able to make, a difference. Although it is, a social media post and, you scroll right past it, it does make an impact and, you never know. So especially in the missions perspective, a student could see RSO that we featured and they might be super interested in it, and that kind of, sparks their interest. So you just never know how that's going to affect, a student's life, which sounds a little like crazy, but that's how I like to look at it, and something cool that I've, enjoyed and something to think about.
Thank you. So one of the thing that I enjoy the most is when I post something new that the whole idea was mine. I came up with it, something very random. Excuse me. Say, for example, last year for Birds Give Back, I did a Star Wars theme campaign for University Housing Service, and I did good. We crossed our milestone that we're looking for, and seeing every hour how that's doing, how the progress is, that's one of my most favorite part. Like this year for Birds Give Back, I know I didn't have to, but I was so much invested in it that I kept on checking social media, not mine, but UHS's social media till at least late at night, until when we announced that, yeah, we're done, we've achieved everything that we wanted to. That's number one. Another thing is that apart from social media, I also work with graphic designers, and those students come up with the most amazing ideas. So that's also another favorite part of mine, being able to be open and give them the freedom the way I enjoy it, just being able to brainstorm with them and come up with crazy but interesting ideas that actually work because they're the students. They represent the undergrad population and they know what people would like, what students would like. So yeah.
For the next question, we'll mix it up a little bit. We'll have Grace start this one. What is something you wish you would have known the first week when you started your internship?
That's a good question. I think, what should I have known? I think when you are, working a social media account, yes, you're thinking about the people that are looking at it, but you also are behind the screen, so you're not really thinking about the people that are looking at it. So, like negative comments and knowing how to deal with that. I did not know how to do that beforehand. So, I mean, obviously my team helped me, navigate that, but I do wish I had a little bit more experience going into it. But other than that, honestly, an internship is to learn and have those learning experiences. So, me saying, oh, I wish I knew this, now I do. So I think that's like the most important thing. But I'll give it to you, Ellie.
Yes. Going off of Grace, yes, it's okay to make mistakes. I know my grammar needed a little help at the beginning, so they were patient about me picking up on that. So it's okay to make mistakes, but also it's great to have as many ideas as possible. Sometimes the silly or bad ideas end up being the great ones. For example, for TikTok, we do research TikToks where we'll go in and we'll meet with professors or different doctors throughout the university and film them, and they'll go over something that's going on in their department. And our one intern, Christina, spent hours on this video and posting it, and I think we got like 100 likes or something. But we went out to campus and filmed a silly TikTok with Bruce the Goose, as Julia was just talking about, and we posted it and got like 2,000 likes in like an hour. So the silly, bad ideas, the stuff that students can really relate with is the stuff that actually comes out and turns out to have the most engagement. So just bring out the best ideas that you have, and usually that's what runs and does the best. So that's my piece of advice.
I pretty much have what they said. They said, especially about handling negative comments. I'm still learning how to do that. And there's no straightforward way of doing it, because if you're, say for example, if you're dealing with admissions, negative comments on admissions account, I'll be dealing with housings account or student affairs account, and the tone would be different across the board. So we're still learning, and there's no end to learning. And one thing that I am still learning, which is major for me, is that I'm still learning how to do Twitter. I was not that familiar with Twitter. I'm still learning. It's fun. Hopefully I'll get a hold of it before I graduate. That's
Anyone can start this one, but what are some specific, and you've talked about some things, but are there some specific project or pieces of content that you've created or helped create that you're particularly proud of?
Who's starting? I think if I had to choose one, probably like the early TikTok days, like when we first started TikTok, like every single like video we came out, it was like our little baby, and we started to get more engagement, and by like every single thing we posted, it was just like getting more and more and more. So I'd say I'm pretty proud of that content in terms of like that was the start of the account, and it was kind of cool to see it form and like that we got to be a part of that. So I think like the first video we ever did was like the tour of like the Bone Student Center. And also TikTok at the time, like I didn't even know how to fully use TikTok. Like, I mean, I scrolled through TikTok all day, every day. That's over exaggeration, but I did not know how to make videos. So that was totally a learning curve. And I was like, so I'm really proud about how those videos turned out, and seeing from where we started to where we are now too. So does anybody else? Okay.
One of my favorite projects was when we did 360 videos of each of our hall rooms, each types of hall rooms that we have, and we launched our YouTube channel. That was in the middle of pandemic. We had shut everything down. But that's whole summer we utilized that. We had none of our team members had any idea how to do 360 videos, but we did the research, we went out there, we got the equipment that we need. Eventually, at the end of the summer, we were able to launch the YouTube channel with all of our 360 videos, and that is till date. Every time a parent is calling our assignment teams to query about any of the rooms, that is till date one of our very, very valuable resource, and I am so glad that I got to lead that project.
Do you have
Ellie?
anything else?
Perfect. I'd say one of my favorite projects I was able to work on, we're moving the platform more to YouTube, but a day in the life series. So this is a great example to showcase just all the great things that campus has to offer, all the organizations that are available to prospective students coming in, or maybe students that don't know about the things that students have here as well. And what we did in this video is I went through, and it was the first one that we posted to our TikTok channel, and I just showed a day in my life, got to show off some of the great organizations I'm in and the things that I do on campus and the work I do for UMC as well. And then at the end, we encouraged students to make their own video, and if they submitted it with the hashtag ISU Day in the Life, it worked as a submission as to go to our giveaway. So we saw a really positive impact on this, and I'd say this is one of my favorite projects too, just because it encouraged students to videotape and show off their favorite aspects of campus, and we just overall saw a really positive impact. So that was my favorite project.
We'll do two more questions here and then open it up to the audience. The first one is, what are your post-graduation plans? Because I'm pretty sure all of you are graduating pretty shortly. And how has this role prepared you for the next steps you plan to take?
So you want to take it first?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. Yes, so I will be graduating in a few weeks in May, and I'm working for a technology company called CDW, and with that, I will be in a marketing role where I'm working with clients, and I'll be up in Chicagoland area. And how this role has prepared me for that is just being able to promote myself, and learning how to promote the university is going to help when speaking with clients, and overall just the selling perspective part of it, and just the office atmosphere as well, being able to have those personal and professional development skills and bringing that to a full-time role.
I am currently still in the job search, so that is my plans after graduation, is just to go on LinkedIn and apply to as many jobs as I possibly can. But I would say that this internship has definitely prepped me in a lot of different ways, but I think, the big main takeaway is that I do realize that this is something I want to do. Like internships are a way to figure that out, and I do love social media. I have a passion for it, so that is the way I would love to go, with so many more experiences and things to take away, but that just being one of the main ones.
Congratulations. I'm like you. I'm also searching. I am, though, waiting for an offer later. Till I get that, I'm still searching. I'm still interviewing. Both of these positions, and I'm also the president of GSA, so that also adds to my portfolio. All three of these experiences have helped me a lot when I'm going out there, interviewing, talking to people, giving them examples, real-life examples of what I've been doing. Although most of my interviews have been with corporate clients, not so much with higher eds, but it still resembles to their needs and caters to their population as well. So this has been a life-changing thing for me, these experiences.
Final question from me, and then we'll turn it over to the crowd here. What advice would you give to students that are looking for a campus social media internship, specifically the ones that are going to be kind of moving into your roles in the future?
I can start.
Yeah, you go ahead.
One of the big things, if someone comes into my position per se for University Housing Services and social media or their marketing assessment GA, I would say be very, very flexible. That's number one criteria of succeeding in that role, in that particular role, because oftentimes housing is all hands on deck, and you have to have that flexibility. You have to be that much passionate about the role that you're playing to be able to do that. And for student affairs, I would say bring in new ideas, see how you can engage with students more, how more content you can create that are student-centric, specifically catered to students.
Yeah, going off of I would say my advice to anybody going into any social media internship here on campus is bring those ideas. Like you are, they are taking classes and, they have, all these information. So, and are on social media a lot. So, those fresh and new ideas can really make an impact on all these social media platforms that we run. So don't be afraid to, speak up and be like, hey, I think this is something cool we do. The worst that can happen is it just doesn't happen. So definitely, being collaborative and, speaking up and being like, hey, I think this would be cool. So bring new ideas and don't be afraid to do that.
I agree. Yeah, just echoing off you guys, having a willingness to learn and to do more things. I feel like with social media, it's becoming easy to use Canva and kind of seeing what other accounts and like our competitors, the other universities are doing, but having soft skills and knowing how to talk to professionals and how to work in group-like settings is something really important. But from the more creative side too, maybe having a portfolio or cleaning up your own social media just because that's probably going to get looked at. And if you don't have a social media with a positive atmosphere impact, you probably won't bring it to someone else's account. So I'd say that's probably my biggest tip. But I'd say overall, just having a willingness to learn and to try new things.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions? Lawrence.
What are your personal favorite social media applications, and then what is your favorite thing to see on there? Like personally, I love TikTok and I love plant talk.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So what is your favorite social media and the favorite thing you follow on?
That's good.
I'd say mine's TikTok, and I'm on Food Talk. I make a lot of recipes, lots of recipes on there. My roommates and I like to try. Some go good and some go bad, so I'll leave it at that.
I was literally going to say the same thing. I'm all over Food Talk, and I don't even try the recipes. I just love watching them make it, and I save them thinking I'm going to, and then I never do, but I love it. It's so entertaining.
Well, right now, I'd say LinkedIn, not to sound nerdy or anything, but right now I'd say LinkedIn because, job.
Any other questions? If not, thank you so much. Give a hand to our panel here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks to all the presenters and the award winners, and hope to see you next year. Feel free to stick around. We have the room for a while more to chat with your colleagues and have some more snacks. Thanks a lot.